Okay, let's pick up where we left off with the large intestine. So we went through the stomach a little bit, different parts of the small intestine. Now we're here at the colon or large intestine. So we ended with the ileum of the small intestine, that real solid looking part right here. So after contents travel through that, they get here to the cecum of the large intestine. That's the very beginning. And we can see ileocecal valve, ileo. Let me get my pen here. The ileo part of this word is for ileum that we just talked about. Cecal part of this word is for the cecum. So ileocecal valve, that's where the small intestine ends and the large intestine begins. Okay, off of the cecum, we also have, let me exit this. We also have the appendix coming off. So some of you may know or be somebody who had to get their appendix out. So that's there in the right lower quadrant that we will talk about. All right, so actually let's go ahead and talk about quadrants real fast since I already introduced it. So say we took an x-ray of the abdomen, so we're checking out the digestive system. And pretend this is our x-ray field of view here. This is our light field, for example. And here we have our, almost like central ray you could think about. But basically we're cutting it into 4 equal parts as best we can. Keep in mind, I'm not an expert drawer here. Now, always in the right, so here, right, and then lower quadrant. So basically this right lower box here, the appendix is found. That's why when you see on a requisition in order for an x-ray, if the patient has right lower quadrant pain, there's always that notion that, well, hey, maybe it's the appendix, because that's so common to have issues with, and it's a common complaint for people to come in with. That appendix is inflamed, it's unhappy. All right, from there we go into the ascending colon. That's just the part going up. We get the right colic flexure here. And that can be termed 2 ways. It can either be the right colic flexure there, or it could be the hepatic flexure because it's here next to the liver. So there's that flexure. Then this part of the colon going crosswise here is the transverse colon. Then we have another flexure over here. It's the left, but it's also referring to the spleen, which is near. So it's left colic or splenic. Then we have the descending portion before we hit the sigmoid colon, rectum, and anus there. All right, next up, overall review. Please go ahead and take a look at that. One of the accessory organs we have here is the liver. We don't need to know too much about it. When you get into special imaging, you do though. There's a right lobe and a left lobe. We also have a falciform ligament here. Just have a ligament separating the 2 lobes, and the gallbladder's there right next to it. Let's see, the gallbladder, again, it's where bile from the liver is stored and concentrated for use later on. It's similar in subject contrast to surrounding tissues, so we don't usually see these on an x-ray really well. We won't get much detail out of them. Only when you switch over to CT or MRI will you get a lot of great detail on the liver as compared with its surrounding tissues like the gallbladder and so on. But when you can see the gallbladders, when there's stones in there, because stones are almost literally like rocks in the body that kind of mimic the same density as bone, so we can see them on an x-ray. Here's a cross-sectional or axial image of CT. Here we can see the liver, and because CT has a different technology, we can make out all the different tissues. We've also introduced contrast here. But there's the liver, stomach with some barium in it, large intestine, spleen, aorta, and so on. Okay. Another cross-sectional image, and we'll go over it too much right now. So in the abdominal cavity, what we have is the peritoneum. So the peritoneum is very much like the pleural cavity of the chest, only now it's in the abdomen, and it only covers certain organs. Some are outside of that cavity, and some are outside of it and below it. So here it shows the peritoneal cavity, and the peritoneum itself is double-walled, sac-like, just like the pleura. Then there's parietal and visceral peritoneal layers. So the visceral is right next to the organs. Parietal is away from the organs, just like we learned in the chest. Further into the, or you know what, I'm going to go ahead and end this video, give you a break, and then when we come back, we'll get into the mesentery.